have come up on film.
Next will be Bill Rabinowitz from Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Pete. You have a pretty good view of what Tommy Togiai has done this year. From your perspective, what has been his biggest area of improvement, and what has he meant to your defense?
Yeah, not just Tommy, but Haskell. Those guys in the middle, they're fighters. They're guys that have spent so much in the offseason gaining strength, speed, knowledge of the game, and one of the biggest things I think of is confidence. He's understanding his role on the defense and how big it is, and him stepping up the plate and doing what he's been doing is not. I mean, that's what you ask for a 3 tech, for 1 tech on Ohio State's defense. But he's really stepped to the plate, and it shows from his confidence on the field. He's one of the smartest guys on their defense, and it really shows, as well as being very athletic in that interior spot.
Next will be Tim May from Lettermen Row.
Yeah, Pete, indulge me here. How difficult is it when you're playing against a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence to, when he does make a sort of a move, to not rush to the scene of the fire, but to stay, as the old saying goes, to stay sound, to stay in your gap responsibility, et cetera, because I would think there's an eagerness for everyone to make sure he doesn't make that big difference in the game, on Friday night. But how difficult does a guy like that make it? And because obviously he can make a cut and go the distance, as you guys found out last year.
Yeah, so from last year, we've obviously learned that big plays, giving up big plays were the key. Some of the keys where we lost that game. It is very difficult when you have a dual threat quarterback like Trevor. He's very, very good. He can scramble. He can throw the ball very well. That just makes it very, very tough, but a great challenge on this defense. We just got to, again, go out and show it. But I credit the kid. He can do a lot of things, but we just got to stay focused, disciplined as a defense, and not be overly aggressive, I guess.
Next is Dave Biddle from 24/7 Sports.
Thank you. Pete, you do so many things for this defense, and you're a 3-year starter. You've seen a little bit of everything during your career. How would you describe the evolution of your game personally? Is this kind of what you expected when you came to Ohio State?
No, I had no idea what I was going to expect. I feel like that's the same for a lot of guys that come in here. You just try to find that role, and then once you get into that role, you just kind of move on from there. I feel like evolution coming in as a special teams guy, and then working my way up to a starter, and then being one of those starters that can really lead the defense and be one of those leaders of the team that other guys on the field can count on. If they got a problem, they come to me. Just my knowledge of the game has increased, and I credit the coaches for that.
Thank you.
Next up is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Pete, you mentioned the versatility that Travis Etienne has, but that's the same way that Clemson talks about your linebacker group, kind of the versatility that all you guys have. Is this sort of the matchup that you guys have been sort of building towards since last year? Like you moving over, Barron moving over, was it to kind of set up for to face off against an athlete like Etienne?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't my decision. It was the coach's decision, and I kind of just did what they told me to do. This might be their plan, I guess. But then we're going to see. I think our versatility matches up with their versatility. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I'm just looking forward to it.
We'll now go to Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch.
Pete, what has Ryan Day been like throughout this whole season as a leadership perspective for you guys, going back from August to the restart in September to the restart, stop, cancellations of the last month? How has he been like as a coach, kind of leading you out through a season like this?
Yeah, he's been for the players first. We talk about so many obstacles getting in our way. Adversity is what he's challenging us with. He's just a guy that is always going to be there for you. He asks the players consistently what he needs of them and what we can do for him. He's just a guy that you want to be next to. You want to be surrounded by his leadership through times like this, and to be able to make it to a playoff, credit him and his leadership.
Our final question will come from Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports.
Pete, to piggyback off of Nathan's question about with the around this year, how you expect your game to be like in comparison to what it was last year? You expect it to be different in terms of where you will be and what you'll be matching up with?
Without going into any scheme, I just, I mean, we're going to have incomes, how matchups look. But obviously it's going to be a little bit different, considering I'm a different position. But in any scheme like that. But yeah, matchups will look a little different.
Thank you very much for your time, Pete. We really appreciate it. I know it's a busy time for you, so good luck in the rest of your preparations.
Yep. Thank you.
All righty, we'll continue today with senior defensive end Jonathon Cooper.
Welcome, Jonathon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I will be introducing the media members by name and media outlet, and then they'll follow up with a question for you. We're going to start with Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Jonathon, this is your third time being in a game now with Ohio State playing Clemson. Just how much more incentive does that give for you to just want to finally get over this hump?
It means a lot. Obviously, prepare for this. Whenever you go into the college football playoffs, obviously my freshman year, didn't really see the field too much, and obviously last year I was out and I couldn't play in this game. So I feel like just for me personally, being able to have an impact like I do on the team and being healthy means the most.
Next up is Bill Rabinowitz from Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Jonathon. Obviously, there have been so many ups and downs this year. When you look back at what you've been through this year, your decision to come back, I'm assuming you have no regrets. You're happy you did it, but just kind of sum up what this year has meant to you.
Honestly, it's meant everything. Like you said, no regrets to the fact that I came back. I'm really happy that I made that decision. Obviously, this year hasn't gone exactly the way it's planned, just with like COVID and games cancellations and, missing out on some things. But honestly, I mean, I'm just so grateful for the fact of just even having a chance to go out there and play with my brothers and to represent Ohio State. And, I mean, I couldn't ask for more.
Next up is Phil Harrison from Buckeyes Wire.
Hey, Jonathon, lost in a lot of this redemption here for, getting back to the college football playoff and getting a chance to play Clemson again. This is Ryan Day's only loss, the one loss against Clemson last year. And we all have seen how intense he can be at times. You get a sense that this week means a little bit more to him based on how things ended last year and based on some of the back and forth in the media with some of the coaches and things?
I feel like just with Coach Day, every game he approaches the same, with the same intensity and with the same mindset that we have to win. I feel like any coach or anybody, no matter what team you're going up against, your whole goal is to win and to play your best with your team and get your team ready to go do that. And I feel like Coach Day and his leadership has done an amazing job to do that for us.
We'll now go to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Jonathon, Pete Werner had some big shoes to fill moving over from Sam to take over from Malik this year. Just what have you seen from him, I guess, either on the field or when you're watching film that's kind of maybe where has he put his stamp on this defense the most by that position switch?
Yeah, Pete's an amazing player. Obviously, you guys have seen that. I feel like his biggest thing that he stepped up in is his leadership. He's definitely been a guy that people can go to and the young guys can go to and rely on to answer any questions or anything that might be needed. He's definitely just stepped up for our team in a big way, regardless of just playing his best football this year, but being a leader for us, someone that we can rely on.
We'll now go to Tim May from Lettermen Row.
Jonathon, this is a bowl trip. You guys are going to New Orleans, but the way it's laid out, you might as well be going to Iowa City. You know what I mean? Is that taken away at all from the postseason hoopla or whatever? I mean, the fact that you guys are only going to be there for like a basically 30-hour period, or is that just a part of the world 2020?
Like you said, I feel like it is just a part of the world right now, just with everything going on. But I think the players would have loved to go down to New Orleans and actually experience the city and the place and me personally, the food. I wanted to try some of the seafood down there. But, I mean, all in all, we're there to go win a football game. We're there to go play for people and play for the CFP. And, you know, it's all business, and I don't feel like that's taken away from anything else.
We'll now go to Sean Dunigan from WBNS TV.
Hey, Jonathan, do you guys look at all at the last 3 games that you have against Clemson last year and the 31-0 shutout and the 40-35 game in the Orange Bowl? Do you look at any of those game tapes or talk about any of those games since Ohio State hasn't beaten Clemson?
We like to – obviously we know the history and everything between Ohio State and Clemson, and we go back and obviously we reflect on everything. You go back and you watch the film and you see how you can get better. And I feel like that's how you approach it, really anybody. You go back and you look at the teams that you played. If you have somebody that you played before and you look at the tape and you see where you messed up at and you see where you can get better at it. And then you have to go out there and execute.
Now go to Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Jonathan, when the season was announced that it was coming back, you were a little emotional telling us about your conversation with your mom. I know that maybe this wasn't quite as dramatic because there was some level of expectation you'd get in the field, but certainly meaningful. Are you willing to tell us at all about what your conversation with her might have been like this time around?
When I first figured out that the season was coming back on.
No.
Sorry, hold on. He needs to unmute. I just muted you, Brendan. My apologies.
That's okay. No, you had told us a little bit about your conversation when the season came back. I'm curious about your conversation. You know, when you found out you were in the playoff for sure, and now you're back on this ultimate stage.
Yeah, it was emotional, obviously. Just another chance to play, honestly, and go out there and make my family proud. It means a lot to me and my family. I just go out there and end my season the right way. I don't know. I couldn't be happier. Our conversation was just kind of like happiness and just ready to go get it. It's time to work even harder.
Next, we'll go to Joey Kaufman from Columbus Dispatch.
Jonathan, how do you think how do you think Ryan Day has done well in terms of kind of leading you guys through sort of all the craziness of this season? What has he done that's been effective for you guys with all the uncertainty and a lot of just the extra stuff of this year?
Right. Coach Day has been amazing throughout all of this. I couldn't ask him to do anything more. He's been a tremendous leader to all of us and just talking to us, guiding us, and making us stay strong and together as a unit, honestly. Our key word is fight. And with all the challenges that we had to face this year and overcome them, we just had to fight and keep pushing through them. And I feel like with Coach Day at the front of our team and being that leader, he's done a spectacular job.
Next will be Patrick Murphy from 24/7 Sports.
Jonathan, you guys have talked in the past in big games about wanting to dominate as the defensive line. You did that to some degree last year. I know you weren't a part of it, but how big will that be in this game to winning or losing, how the defensive line plays against Clemson's offensive line?
I feel like it's just as big as any game. Defensive lines, I feel like, are the key to winning the game. Defensive line, offensive line, it's where everything starts. And obviously we have to play extremely well and play our best game. We want to do that every single week. And this week is no different. We just have to play to the ability that we're capable of.
And our final question will come from Austin Ward with Lettermen Row.
Coop, Berm wanted me to ask if you and Justin Hilliard are going to use another loophole to come back for years 6 and 7.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, you want to come back another year? Huh? No, probably not going to come back. Yeah. I mean, unless he does, I'll come back.
Berm's desperate. He just wants you two to hang around.
I'm sure he is.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Jonathan. We really appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of your preparations. We look forward to seeing you down here in New Orleans.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty, we'll wrap up our players today with the aforementioned Justin Hilliard.
Good afternoon, Justin. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce the media members by their name and their media outlet, and they will ask you some questions. We'll start with Bill Rabinowitz from Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Justin. We talked this morning to Matt Bockhorst, who had nice things to say about you. What do you remember about him, and you know, just your thoughts on playing a former teammate and you know that whole thing?
Yeah, I think that's actually my third former team I get to play this year or years past. But yeah, me and Matt go way back. I remember when I was, I think, a junior or senior, he came in as a young guy, and he was probably one of the most memorable, just naturally just crazy teammates I played with. Just he's a guy that loves contact, which is my type of guy. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to get to play him. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm sure a lot of words will be will be said, but it'll be fun, man.
We'll now go to Dave Biddle from 24/7 Sports.
Thank you. Justin, facing a guy like Trevor Lawrence again, is it a situation like is your mindset and the defense's mindset? He's going to make his share of plays. We just have to limit the really big plays. Just what's your mindset facing a guy like Lawrence?
I would say the overall mindset is just Coach Coombs is one of the most influential coaches I've had. He has a saying, the team that wins usually is the team that runs to the ball the hardest and hits the hardest. So, I mean, that's going to be our motto the whole game is if we get 11 guys running to the ball every single play and 11 guys trying to make contact and create plays when they get to the ball, then I think we'll be all right.
Thank you.
Next will be Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Hey, Justin, this is, the third time you've been on the team for a game against Clemson. And, Jonathon was talking about, him finally getting to play a big role in this game. Do you kind of feel the same way about, you get to play Clemson and this time you finally get to really be a big part of it?
Yeah, I would say it's a little different this year just because me and John both have bigger roles. We got to step up as leaders this year. I know in years past we were we had a little bit less of a role, but obviously this year being as leaders and some of the guys who have been there for the previous games we played against Clemson, we have a lot of knowledge on this game and what it takes or what it will take to win this game and what we have to do different. So yeah, it's exciting to have this new bigger role, but we're excited for it.
We'll now go to Tim May from Lettermen Row.
Following along that same line, Justin, we were talking about Trey Sermon finally getting a bunch of carries, and suddenly he got in a stride, in a rhythm, and it showed. And I'm just wondering, from your vantage point, it certainly seems like the last couple of games, especially, you've gotten into that same kind of rhythm or stride, playing linebacker. Has it felt that way to you? And is there even more to come in that sense from you?
Yeah, I would say most definitely. It's a lot of times it's when you're out there, you just need to make that first hit, that first play. I was actually watching Chris Farley, that video of his entrance or whatever, where he goes crazy, gets the crowd going and everything. He says he does that just to get the nerves out and just to get his feet wet. I would say the same thing with football, man. It's when you're out there, you're just looking to make that first big play, and then once you make that first big play, man, it's just you're in the flow. Everything becomes easy.
Thanks, man.
Next up is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Justin, the move that Pete Werner made this year over to Will, I mean, obviously he was starting on the other side where you are in this game last year, but just how has he impacted the defense most with what he's done making that move over to Will?
Oh yeah, Pete's a beast. Pete's an absolute great player. One of the guys who's always running to the football. If you turn on the tape, anytime you watch Pete, he's going to be running to the ball. And yeah, we've grown to expect that from him. So he's definitely a huge part of our defense, huge part of our team. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he does Friday.
We'll now go to Patrick Murphy from 24/7 Sports.
Justin, in last year's game, the defense was able to contain Travis Etienne, at least from a rushing standpoint, but he was still able to get out and make some big plays in the past game. How aware and how much conversation has there been of that, and knowing that to have success, you need to be able to shut a guy like that down in both facets?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a focus for sure. I think every week our defense is built around stopping big plays, and sometimes we've let that fall this year. And I think that's been obviously been a big focal point of this week, is just limiting all those big plays. And yeah, with a guy like that, it can be tough, but we're up for the challenge.
We have time for another question here if there's somebody with one. He almost got away. What was Spencer Holbrook from Lettermen Row, please?
I don't see it as an advantage. I think maybe more mentally than physically, knowing what it takes as far as preparation going in this game and learning from things that we didn't do right in the past. I think that'll serve as an advantage. But I don't think it gives us an advantage over any team just because we played them. But I know older guys that have played in those previous games, like me, John, ton of guys have learned so much from those games and what we did wrong in those games and preparation and things like that. And we're doing everything we can this time around to change that.
Thank you very much for the time, Justin. We really appreciate it in a busy time, but good luck in the rest of your preparation.
Thanks, guys.
We will have Kerry Coombs shortly. Some notes for you all. You should be receiving all of my emails from our media distribution list. If you're not and you'd like to receive them, you just have to contact me. Send me an email at johns@sugarbowl.org. And I will let you guys know via that anything else that's going on, specifically the information for downloading the airport arrival interview and the airport arrival B-roll, which we'll have tomorrow from Clemson. The Ohio State material will also be available on Thursday. I got to get the days of my week straight, but we'll be sending all that info out to you tonight. So if you have questions, reach out at any time. We'll be back in a few minutes once we get coach. Good afternoon, Coach.
How you doing, guys?
Can you hear me all right?
Take it off. I can hear you guys just fine. Told me to take my mask off. I better not get the COVID. I've avoided it so far. So
I've been tested. I don't know about these other guys.
I've been tested every single day. I have nothing left in the interior of my nose.
If you'd like to make a brief opening statement, you can, or we could just go straight to questions. Which would you
Now
prefer?
we can go. I don't know. I wouldn't know what I'd say.
All right, fair enough. We're going to start off with Austin Ward from Lettermen Row.
Kerry.
Hey, Austin.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
It seemed like a little bit of a scramble at safety before the Big Ten title game. We saw, that Marcus was a game time decision. We didn't know about Ronnie until a little before kickoff. How much did that scramble the plans for you guys at safety? And I know there's a limit to what you'll say ahead of Friday, but how much closer to full strength do you think you guys will be there?
Yeah, well, it was a big scramble, and we had 3 healthy safeties, ready to play in the game. And so there was, that was significant. And the kids did a really nice job. That's the COVID environment, right? Of adapting and overcoming and accommodating. And we would certainly like to be much closer to full strength on Friday.
Next question will come from Stephen Means with Cleveland.com.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Stephen.
How you doing?
Great.
All right. When you look at Clemson and how they kind of use their wide receivers specifically, it's mirrors a little bit to how you guys use Chris and Garrett, where it's an outside guy and a slot guy who get the majority of the touches. When you guys do go good on good, how much does going against those 2 guys and the way they use them maybe prepare you for what you're going to see on Friday?
Oh, I think that's a great question. I think every day that we get to go good on good is a good day for us, because those are some of the best wide receivers in the country in our facility. And these guys that we're playing are just like them. And so the ability to compete against great skill day in and day out is critical when you're trying to get ready to play a team like this.
We'll now go to Tim May with Lettermen Row.
Hi, Kerry. Merry Christmas again. By the way, as you look at Trevor Lawrence, what is the most outstanding thing he does? And I know that's like, out of 20, whatever, but what is the one thing that you think just sets him apart? Like Urban Meyer was telling me, the thing that's really interesting is he's a great runner, but he's really fast too. And you don't necessarily see both of those when you just watch it on video, but just what's your take?
Yeah, to Urban's point, he's deceptively fast, and you'll see when players have angles on him, and he outruns the angle. I think that the thing that he does so many things very, very well. It's one of I would say it's arguably one of the great college football quarterbacks of all time, based on his production and winning games. He is a play extender, and he does a great job of avoiding rush, sidestepping rush, getting outside the pocket, running the ball, or extending the play and throwing the ball. And he makes very, very, very few poor decisions. I think he does a great job with his pre-snap recognition. He's got a plan in mind when he catches the snap, but when the plan is altered, he does a great job of adapting to that.
Next will be Bill Landis with The Athletic.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Kerry, how are you?
Great, thanks.
Hey, so this matchup is becoming more and more common on the field, but off the field as well. You guys recruit against Clemson a lot, and I think that became a little more common maybe in the 2 years you weren't here, but certainly it's ramped up now. Just what's it like recruiting, I guess, similar guys as Clemson? And you have a guy in this class that you just signed, Jordan Hancock, who was committed there. What was it like recruiting Jordan when he was committed to another program?
Yeah, well, we had recruited Jordan very hard and had felt very good about him. And then he made the decision to commit to them. And I respected that. I respect that decision. But we had developed a pretty decent relationship. I think they're great recruiters. I think they do a phenomenal job when they have kids on their campus. That's always a battle, and you know that when kids are going there to visit. I do think we both identify the same players from the same parts of the country, And so you're going to battle when you go to recruit against the best teams in the country, and they're good at what they do. It's going to be like that. And Jordan was a perfect example of that. And the kids there are kids. The elite players have some really good choices, and those kids and those schools they're all battling for those guys.
Next up is Bill Rabinowitz from Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Kerry. How are you?
Hi, Bill.
I want to ask you about Tommy Togiai and the impact that he's had on your defense. That position's kind of a thankless one, but it's so important. What kind of a jump has he taken, and how important has he been to the defense?
Well, I wasn't here last year, so I can't tell you, speak clearly to the jump. I can tell you that we have had players like that. BB Landers was like that. He's such an active force in the interior of the defense. Now, they're two different players. BB was quick as a cat. Tommy's strong as an ox. But the thing that Tommy does is he hustles so hard, day in and day out, at practice, in the games. He's relentless. And that's what I feel like he does in the middle of the defense. He's just a relentless force. And if you don't stay on him, he's going to find himself at the ball. And he's really, between the interior defensive linemen have just really done a really, really good job this year.
We'll now go to Tony Gerdeman from Buckeye Scoop.
Harry, how you doing?
Great. How are you, Tony?
Good. I want to ask you about the other guy on the interior. Have you ever seen anything like what Haskell Garrett has been through this year, and what's it been like for you to watch it as a coach?
Yeah, not in my experience. I wish. I'm glad, to be honest with you. I hope I never see it again. But for somebody to be where he was in August to where he is in December is a miracle. And I've said that before, and I believe it. And it just continues to be reproven every time he takes the field. He's very serious about what he does. I think he feels like, and he'd have to tell you, but I think he feels like he's got a new lease on life. I can tell you that my interactions with him became more positive, more upbeat, happier, more hugging, more of all those kind of things. And so for whatever it is that caused that or sparked that in him, he is playing really, really well, really hard, and he was a good technician. And Larry does such a great job with those guys, but he's eating it up, and he just wants to be great. And I just love being around him.
We'll now go to Steve Hellwagon from Bucknuts.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Steve.
Congratulations on the success this season and getting it there. My question, I don't know how much you've gone back and watched the tape of this game. You weren't there, obviously, a year ago. But Ohio State did a great job of containing ATN, running the football, and a really good job with Lawrence and his wide receivers and tight ends. Where they beat Ohio State was the quarterback run and the screen game to ATN. 3 touchdowns, long touchdowns out of those plays. I know it's all part of everything, and you got to stop everything, but how do you stop all 4 of those things in a game like this? And how aware do your guys have to be about all the different ways they can attack you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think anybody stops them. I think you want to try to slow them down. You want to try to contain them. You want to try to eliminate those big plays. They do it to everybody. Their explosive tape is the longest tape that you've ever seen. I think the running back is a fantastic player in every phase of the game. He runs the ball inside. He runs the ball outside. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He catches the ball on the perimeter. I think he's dynamic. Obviously, the quarterback run, which shows up at this time of year, is important to their success. And that's what winning teams do. They have a formula. They've got talent across the board from the numbers to the numbers. And so if you went into a game and said, well, we're going to take this one thing away, they have plenty to beat you somewhere else. And so you have to prepare for all of it, and you have to play. You have to play a great game for 4 quarters in order to have a chance at the end.
Thanks.
Next up will be Jacob Beng from Buckeye Grove.
Hey, Kerry, how are you?
Hi, Jacob. Great, thanks.
Going back to the interior on the defensive line, have you seen an extra pep in the step of Jonathon Cooper now that he finally gets to play Clemson?
I think I can tell you this, and the remarkable thing is to just watch how these kids have managed and handled everything. But Coop is a flat out leader, you know, and I was talking to him. We had kind of a walkthrough practice the day after Christmas, and Coop says, "Coach, we need to wear cleats. I mean, he was just, and he was right, and we did, and you just love that kind of leadership. He's all in. He's pushed his chips into the middle of the pile for this game, and I think we'll see Coop's best effort."
Next, we'll go to Zachary Braziler from New York Post.
Coach, with Shaun, we all know Shaun could only play a half last year. I know you weren't, there last year, but could you just sense how motivated he is for this game?
Well, I mean, in many ways, I think the way that game finished, or a big part of the reason that Shaun came back, and Shaun's passionate about winning, and he felt, I'm not going to say he felt responsible, but he felt, shortchanged or whatever. I don't know what the right word is, Zachary, to be honest with you, but and he's been motivated all year, and he's a great leader. But he's, this game obviously means a lot to him. He's prepared extremely well. He wants to go out and have a good performance. He wants to help his team win, and that's the main thing. But there's no question that coming off the field at halftime or before the halftime last year was very, very hard for him.
Next, we'll go to Nathan Baird with Cleveland.com.
Hey, Kerry,
Hi, Nathan.
how you doing? You and other people have been talking about Etienne's versatility. When we talk to Clemson, they talk about your linebackers' versatility. I'm just curious, when you guys moved those guys to the positions that they're in this year, was it a matchup like this that was kind of in mind? And how does this alignment of linebackers and the versatility that you guys have maybe help you match up against Etienne?
Well, I think when you're going to play teams like this, and it's a great question, I think when you're going to play teams like this, you got to have speed on the field, and you got to figure out a way to get fast guys out there playing in the right areas. And for us, moving Pete, getting Barron on the field in a different capacity, having a kid like Justin Hilliard who can play all the spots, and then that anchor in the middle, Tough Borland. I mean, I just think that versatility gives us. It certainly gave us a great chance when guys were out because of COVID, but it gives us flexibility. And I agree with you that when you're going to play teams like this, you're going to need those kind of flexible players that can move around and do different things during the course of the game to help you try to win.
And one last question, Coach, on Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Hey, Kerry.
Hi, Brendan.
Hey, Haskell made a comment to us that he has spent a lot of time this year on trying to learn more than just his job. He wants to know the coverages. He wants to know where certain guys are. He said it's helped him play more freely. That's a really mature thing to commit yourself to doing. How many other guys on your defense do you feel have made the decision to try and learn more than just their position, and has that made you better as a unit?
I think that some of them chose to do that. Guys like Haskell, Pete, got certain players, and then some of them have had to do it just because all of a sudden you show up at practice and there's 4 guys that aren't going to be able to be there. So now you got to go play this spot and you got to know it. And the young guys have really learned that, not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to. But I think the maturity of these kids that are looking forward to extending their career down the road. I remember having a conversation with Haskell about 3 deep coverage versus 2 deep coverage, and why do you play this one and why do you do that one? And he was really interested and how that might affect him on the defensive line. And I think you're right. It's a very mature way of looking at things. And I think the more guys on your defense that you have thinking along those lines, the better chance you have to have success.
Thank you very much for your time today, Coach. I know it's a really busy time for you, so good luck with the rest of your preparation.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks. We'll see you at the game.